Hi guys, here we are again for another episode of the Comic Book Syndicate, the world's funnest talk show. We're here at Villains Bistro, courtesy of our pal Jeff Sinetti, and we're here to talk about many things today, including the God of Thunder, Thor.
Yes. Well, with a new movie coming out and the success of everything Marvel on screen, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Now, one thing people have to realize is that these characters were not just created spontaneously. They were not created by committee. They were not created by a corporation. These characters were created by real men and women, mostly men, but that's besides the point. Okay. A man named Stan Lee and another man named Jack Kirby created the character of Thor. Thor was introduced in Journey into Mystery number
83.
While we are not going to give credit to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby for creating Thor because he previously had a career as a actual Norse god, the Marvel version of Thor was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The original story was scripted by Larry Lieber, Stan's brother. But Jack Kirby is the creator most associated with Thor, I think, because that was really where he got to do his whole mythological...
yeah, and it wasn't as, it was far more successful than their run of Jesus, bringer of bread.
So, now, in the early 1960s, Jack Kirby was drawing pretty much everything. But at one point, he basically said, okay, you know what? I got to pare this down. I'm going to do just Fantastic Four and Thor.
And Captain America.
And Captain America. But then just Thor and Fantastic Four.
I straighten out. I'm just going to drink wine.
Okay. Well, you're right. There was only
For the average person on the street, they might ask, who is Jack Kirby? Well, Jack Kirby is the king of comic books, okay? Comic books were not invented by Jack Kirby, but I think what happened was there was a lot of people who came into comics who had careers as illustrators. Alex Raymond is a great artist, but he's not really a cartoonist. And to me, Jack Kirby is one of the people in the beginning who defined what a comic book artist was, along with Will Eisner. I don't think there's really anyone else besides those two, Will Eisner and Jack Kirby, who were more important with defining what a comic book artist is as opposed to an illustrator or an animator or anything else.
Oh, absolutely. I think so as well. I mean, because there were great artists, obviously, that did comics beforehand, but I think they did come from more of a classical, you know what I mean? You look at all those great Buck Rogers, or you look at all those great Flash Gordons and stuff like that. Like, those are really classic illustrations. Like, the shading is perfect, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, Kirby just, I'm going to draw a square. This is a hammer. The fist is going to be a square. It's going to be smacked. It was awesome. Like, Galactus.
The Cosmic Cube. Asgard, the Rainbow Bridge of Asgard, the Negative Zone, and the Fantastic Four.
For me, anyways, as someone who loves the artwork more than anything when it comes to comics, it's the look. I mean, that's kind of... Otherwise, not to say that the writers aren't incredibly important, the look is more than half the work, I feel. You know what I mean? Where some people think that the writer... I mean, it's apples and oranges to a degree, but...
I think the one thing people don't realize with Jack Kirby was different was when the Marvel style was out was you were given a script and you drew it. Jack Kirby was creating all the plots, and then basically Stan Lee said he would just take what Kirby had, all these ideas, and then start to fill in the dialogue and ask, like, especially Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and what is all this? So he had a lot of neat creative ideas that he would just put into the panels, and they would leave them because they were so cool. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize what Jack Kirby did. He didn't just draw them. He really looked at how to create different plots, characters, universes.
Yeah, and without Jack Kirby, we wouldn't have Commandi.
Well, for those of you out there, if you are interested, if you're a fan of Thor, if you're a fan of Captain America, I recommend that you pick up the New Gods, because the New Gods, to me, is really Jack Kirby's ultimate statement on mythology, on religion, on the purpose of stories. He really boiled it down to the essentials.
It's funny, though, as the later 70s stuff he did, a lot of the artists were laughing at what he was doing and didn't get it. It wasn't until later that we realized, wow, I mean, he was at that point. He was at the pinnacle. Not to say anything against the comic strip artist, but he had a comic book. It was 21 pages, and he learned how to take that 21 pages and make it just the most incredible story visually. And that's what he's good for.
Yeah.
Plus, he also used the art of decoupage. He would a lot of the technology and stuff in various ones, especially first appearance of Galactus, and that are actually like old auto manuals that he would cut out images of and just kind of be like, "Oh, this will save me 20 minutes."
Yeah. We also have to point out, not only was this guy good, he was doing, I believe his rate was 3 pages a day.
Yeah, and this is back in the day when you had a glass of scotch for lunch, you know what I mean? Like, this guy's chomping on cigars, probably like 4 kids. He'd been in World War II, you know what I mean? And this guy would get up every day and probably, pound out 7 pages a day. Like,
Yeah, he was unique though. I mean, they did say he was a really fast artist in terms of drawing. So I mean, he had that, I think, advantage on some of the others.
Just like the Beatles, their first album, they recorded it in one day. I mean, there's something that we learned from all of this. We're going to close with a quote from Frank Miller, the famous Frank Miller. And he once said that he thinks that Jack Kirby is more important to comic books than Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are to film. He then goes on to say, in fact, I would even say Jack Kirby is more important to film than George Lucas and Steven Spielberg combined. Jack Kirby, the king of comics. Check him out.